Sounds True presents The Way of the Superior Man, revolutionary tools and essential exercises for mastering the challenges of women, work, and sexual desire, with author, lecturer, and workshop leader Deida. And now Session 1, A Man's Way, with Deida.
What is the way of the superior man? The way of the superior man is about giving. It's about giving who you are to the world. And it's about giving yourself more and more deeply to the world, to your woman, to your family, to everyone. To do this, we need to grow. And we grow through 3 basic stages. The first stage is when we want to grow for our own sake. So as a man, we might say, I'd like to make some money for myself. And if we are in the first stage, that's as far as we go. We choose to make money for our own sake. Over time, we grow to what I call the second stage, which is when we want to share and cooperate with other people. So as a man, we may feel, I would like to make money not only for my sake, but to take care of my family, to invest in the community, and to better the world. So whereas the first stage is about making yourself more full, better, acquiring more money, and the second stage is about sharing with others, being cooperative, working for the sake of the whole. The third stage is about realizing that everything is only change. Everything changes. Who you are changes. Everything you build changes. And change means death. So the beginning of the way of the superior man means to come to terms with not only your own death, but the death of everything you can build, create, and make. In the third stage of our life, when we're here to give, we are coming from the depths of our heart, feeling our deepest purpose, offering our love outward, and we realize nobody may accept what we have to give. Our art that we create may not be received. Our love that we have to give may not be received. A superior man does not stop giving merely because he's not received. He may never be acknowledged. He may never receive what he feels he deserves for what he gives. But the superior man is the giving. He lives as a gift. To do so, he needs to feel deep within himself and deeply into the world at the same time. So the superior man feels deeply in himself, who am I? Who am I most deeply? To give your deepest gift, one must know, who am I? So to feel who am I at my most deepest place is the beginning of relaxing as a superior man. To feel who am I leads you to feel that you are the witness of everything. You're not just your name. You're clearly not your body, the cells of which change all the time. When you were 10 years old, every cell of your body was probably pretty much different than it is today. So you're not your body. Likewise, your mind has changed since you were a child, and yet you still feel like you are the same person. So there is a continuity of a sense of self, even though everything changes. So that continuity, or that unchanging sense of self amidst constant change, is what I call the masculine. The consciousness that you are conscious of everything. That consciousness that you are is your masculine. The more you are identified with your deep consciousness, that which never changes, that which has no specific form, that which is eternal, the more you are identified with that, the more you are identified with what I call your masculine. The more you are identified with everything that changes, your thoughts, your body, your relationships, the world, then the more you are identified with the feminine, in the way I use the term. So the feminine is everything that moves, everything you could see, everything you could smell, everything you could hear, everything you could taste, everything you think. Your mind's motion is a feminine dance. Your heart beating, the stars circling through the cosmos is the feminine. So your relationship to the world and to your body is your relationship to her, to the feminine. And your identity as unchanging consciousness is your identity as a masculine player in the world. All men and women, obviously, are both conscious and are conscious of everything that's changing. So all men and women have both masculine and feminine aspects. So every man and woman, in a moment when they're identifying with their unchanging consciousness, they're identifying with their masculine. Every man and woman, the moment they're identifying with everything that changes, their bank account, their thoughts, the world's political situation, the more somebody is identified with the flow of change, the more they are identified with the feminine. So all of us have both masculine and feminine. But to keep this simple, I'll talk about a man identified more with his masculine and a woman identified more with her feminine. As we grow in our lives through the stages, we approach the masculine and feminine differently. So in the first stage, when we're very selfish and self-centered, we tend to become rigid in our identity. A good way to feel into this first stage approach is to think of perhaps the 1950s in the United States, where men were men and women were women, where men were identified with only the masculine, that which doesn't change, no emotion, kind of stolid. And the women, again, this is the old style, first stage, 1950s, you can imagine. The women were identified with change, with the beauty of the house, with their children. And we've grown out of these roles, thankfully. So now both men and women can exercise their masculine and feminine freely. But what that has resulted in is a kind of neutralization, because if every human being expresses equal amounts of masculine and feminine expression, then there is no polarity. Sexual polarity is the arc of energy, either attractive energy or sometimes even repulsive energy. Sexual polarity is this arc of energy between masculine and feminine poles. Like all natural energies, you need two poles to create a force field. So for instance, for the electrical force to flow, you need a positive and negative pole. That's why your car battery has two poles. That's why the electrical socket has a positive and negative side for two prongs, because you need two poles to create the arc of electrical force. Likewise, the gravitational field of the Earth is created between the North Pole and South Pole of the Earth. Well, the two poles of sexual attraction are masculine and feminine. So even if two human beings are completely balanced human beings and they can equally access their masculine and feminine, in the moments that they want sexual attraction within their intimacy, it's important to understand that what creates that sexual passion is the arc, the distance between masculine and feminine. So the woman may choose to play the masculine while the man chooses to play the feminine, or the man can choose to play the masculine and the woman play the feminine, or in a gay or lesbian relationship, two same-sexed individuals can play it. One can play the masculine, the other the feminine. And as long as in any particular moment, one partner is playing more of the masculine, that is identification with unchanging consciousness, and one partner is identified with the feminine, identification with movement, life force, light itself, the dance of light, the cosmic motion. When one person is identified with the masculine and one is identified with the feminine, in that moment there will be sexual polarity. However, if two people are in their masculine, two people are in their feminine, or two people are balanced or neutral, then although they may love each other deeply, there will not be the arc of sexual polarity. So what we're talking about here is a very specific situation. We're talking about men who have already grown beyond balance. So there are many men who are still trying to grow from the first to the second stage. They're trying to grow from being, let's say, macho jerks, and their partners submissive housewives, if we want to caricature, to make it easy to remember the first stage style of being stuck in these rigid roles of masculine and feminine. They grow to the second stage. And to grow to the second stage, men cultivated their internal feminine, and women cultivated their internal masculine. So as men cultivated their internal feminine, they grew their hair longer and wore earrings, perhaps, played music.